Today we're going to show you how to bleed the rear brake on an SV650. This is a Gen2 SV650, so we'll go over all the things we need real quick. So obviously, new .4 brake fluid. You have to get new. If you are using stuff that's old, it's hygroscopic. Basically it collects water, so you've only got a little bit of time after you crack open the seal to use it. It's cheap enough, just buy new stuff every time you do it. I've got a Harbor Freight vacuum bleeder kit. Super simple, $20-ish. 4, 5, 6 millimeter Allen wrenches, and I believe it's 8 millimeter wrench for the brake needle. And then I've just got mine on a drill to make it faster. So the very first part of this process, what we're gonna do is come and get these panels on both sides off. They're symmetrical, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. After we get that off, we'll show you. You can obviously do this by hand. It's just a little easier, a little bit faster if you're doing it a lot, to go ahead and get Allen drivers for it. It's definitely worth a couple bucks each. The next two bolts we're going to remove are for removing the seat here. Just get them both out. Again, it's symmetrical on both sides, and this is a 6 millimeter. Next, we're going to be removing this right here. All you're going to do, unscrew it, and this just basically lets you get the master cylinder cover off. You shouldn't have to do much more than this, just this one. It's just a number 2 Phillips. That up. The other way you could pretty easily cheat this to get it out is to pop this right here, which holds the master cylinder on, or the fluid reservoir. All you need to do, it's a 10 millimeter. Helps to loosen it. Oh, this one's pretty tight. Let me go grab an actual ratchet. Now with this screw right here removed, it's a little bit easier. You can actually pull this reservoir and get it a little bit loose so you can access it from the top. To get those two Phillips screws out, you do want to put some kind of rag or something you don't care about down in case you drip any. Brake fluid is not good for paint. It'll eat right through it. It's not as bad as people say, but it's still worth not having it there. Once you get that cap off, just those 2 screws, you'll see this little diaphragm. You're gonna pull it out. It should slide right out. You can see that nice, yummy brake fluid in there. We're gonna pull a decent chunk of that through and try to get it working again the way it should. So I'm gonna get that set up and then we'll come right back. Now we're gonna go ahead and assemble our vacuum bleeder kit. And so on the top here, you'll notice one side says 2 pump. Obviously the other side goes to the brake caliper. And we'll throw that 8 millimeter on and get it all set up. All right. Good. So once we're at this position, what we're gonna do is crack this bleed nipple with the 8 millimeter, maintaining the pressure on here, and use our vacuum pump. Begin to draw vacuum on the system. One of the things we need to make sure happens is we don't ever want that to run empty. So we're gonna try to get a bunch of fluid out of there. How's it looking?
It's not going down.
That's fine. It is.
It's literally not moving.
It's fine. It's gonna take a while. So like right now, we're repositioning this a little bit so we can get the bleeder nipple slightly farther open without hitting the exhaust. There we go. Once you get that out, it makes it a little bit easier. As you can see, we're pulling fluid out of the entire system.
Okay. Now it's low.
It's low?
Yeah.
And we're gonna top this off. It's really important we make sure this never runs dry. The idea is to get all of the old fluid out. So we have full, fresh fluid in the system. How's it looking over there?
It's good still.
Still going?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's add a little bit more. And so once we're here, once we think we've got a decent bit out, which looks like we have, I'm going to show this down here. You can see that cylinder was empty. And so looks like we got all that nasty old brake fluid out. At this point, you want to make sure you're still holding a vacuum on it, so no air comes in, and then you tighten this bleed nipple best you can. There we go. That should be it. Once we're there, we will top off the brake fluid reservoir. These just need to be a little tight. Do not over tighten them. They will easily strip the caliper. All right, so now that we know there's no more air in the lines and all fresh fluid, we'll go ahead and check the level. We're gonna wanna fill it up. I don't know if you can see that, but basically on the high side of the upper limit. So maybe 4/5 of the way between the upper and lower. And then we're gonna put that diaphragm back in, and then the cover back on, and we will start bolting it all back together. All right, so now you can see it's basically 4/5 between the lower and upper line. We'll go put this diaphragm back in. Just pops back in. Try to do it one-handed. Can I get it one-handed? Looks like I can. So once that's there, we'll just put the metal cap back on, make sure everything's tight, and then put the screws back in, and we'll go through the reassembly process real quick. All right, now that we have this screw, and the cover back on, and these should just basically be snug plus like a quarter turn. Remember, you're going into plastic with the rubber gasket on there. You don't want to go too crazy. We'll go ahead and get that 10mm bolt back into the housing. Let's see, more one-handed shenanigans. And this thing, there's actually a key on that plastic tab, so you need to make sure it's inserted back into the slot for it. That should snug up. Not too tight, just kind of regular tight. Remember, it's a plastic seal, or it's plastic that you're screwing or bolting down. So be cautious how much pressure you're going to use. We'll clean this out. And if you look, no drips, no muss, no fuss. So now we want to make sure our hands are clean. I've got this bolt in here, back in front there. We're going to go ahead and put the rear seat or the seat back on. So go ahead, if you look up the seat, you'll notice there are these tabs. These slide underneath these little catches here. There's 1, 2. Slide that in. Which is difficult one-handed. You can see trying to align it. There we go. So we have that lined up. So I will get that the rest of the way on. Go ahead, once I get these lined up, I just need 2 hands for that. Now with these on, these are 6mm little bolts. Go ahead, get them on your tool because it's kind of a tight squeeze. And go ahead and get them inserted. If you're doing a lot on motorcycles or bicycles, there's a company called Park Tools, and they're actually a bicycle tool company. They make great things for this. So this is an old version. Basically, it's got a 4, 5, and 6mm on the triangle, so you get a good grip. And it's basically all the most common sizes that you'll need. So just repeat that on the other side, and you're good to go. Go ahead and put these side panels back on. taken. I always get this wrong the first time. Little tap goes in there and just snaps in. We will repeat that process for the other side here. Slides in under the seat. Push it right in. Get it locked in. And then we'll go ahead and put those 4mm Allens back in there. And go on to the next step. All right, so you got those side covers back on. Got your brake fluid. You want to use this pretty quickly if you're going to use it. I would normally do the front brakes, but I've recently done those. Just the rear brake was acting up. So once you're at that point, basically you can go ahead and pull your bike off the stand. You can do this whole thing on the side stand. It's just easier if you have like a pit bull style stand. Use this stuff within a couple months if you're going to use it. Otherwise, it's like $5 for a new canister. Just every time you do the brakes, if you're not doing them back to back, get a new one. It's worth it, promise. After I do any modifications to the brakes, I like to go ahead and basically take a nice slow kind of putt through the neighborhood. Make sure everything's working correctly, no issues. Make sure I can stop the way I want to. And make sure that everything is working exactly the way we want it to. So if you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment or subscribe. I appreciate it. Have a great day. Thanks.